have talked about gender selection in the past. It's been a long time, and it usually has to do with other cultures, for instance, having a higher priority for males over females. But is it happening in this country? Well, Alyssa Golub is a youth coordinator with Campaign Life Coalition, and appears that it is.
Absolutely. In 2012, the Canadian Medical Association journal came out with the headline saying it's a girl could be a death sentence. So saying that in some particular ethnic groups in Canada, these sex-selective abortions are happening, which was solidified by the CBC doing an undercover sting operation, going into different abortion clinics privately owned throughout the country, and videotaping and asking, if they do sex-selective abortions, very clearly stating that they do want to have an abortion if the baby is a female. So recently, they've come out saying that the best way to battle this form of sexism is to prevent women from knowing the gender of the baby until 30 weeks. So that was recently brought up again.
When you say they, who's that? Is that the Society of Obstetricians and Gynecologists of Canada and the Canadian Association of Radiologists? Is that who's behind that?
It was first brought up by the Canadian Medical Association, saying that they wanted this in 2012, and then recently an article in the National Post said that pregnancy experts and radiologists as well, because not only are sex-selective abortions rampant, but ultrasound, entertainment ultrasounds can also be harmful to the preborn children with fetal abnormalities.
Entertainment ultrasound.
That's what they call them, because there's so many ways that there's so many different things you can do with ultrasounds these days. There's 3D, 4D, you can do live streaming. So family and friends who aren't in the room can live stream and see the ultrasound. They can do the baby's heartbeat can be a ringtone. I mean, there's so many different ways that people are.
Yeah, but that's kind of cool, and that
cool.
get more people involved. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's only bad insofar as it takes about an hour to do that with the ultrasound machine hooked up. So it could have it could affect the baby negatively. And when they did animal testings on this, they've noticed that it's affected the brain.
So are you against all ultrasounds?
No, absolutely not. I think medical ultrasounds, and I think that to determine the gender of the baby is not a bad thing, as long as it's not being used for sex-selective abortion. I think that there's merit to women who want to be prepared to have a child and know the gender of the baby, and there's coming out parties now where they have a cake, and if it's blue on the inside it's a boy, if it's pink it's a girl. But I think the practice of abortion, not to mention sex-selective abortion, is very problematic, especially in Canada.
Okay, what are the weeks that typically are the deadline for abortions in this country, or do we even have that?
Well, I mean, different private clinics will give different weeks that they will go up to. So there is late-term abortionists in Ontario who do it up to 24 weeks. There is no law in Canada on abortion, so legally, if you found an abortionist, you could do it up to the full 9 months of pregnancy. And it's also been uncovered that women who do want to have late-term abortions, for whatever reason, if they can't find an abortionist to do it in Canada, our tax dollars will go and send them to America, to the U.S., where they have many late-term abortionists who will happily do that. We, as
taxpayers, pay for that?
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay. So, but the 30 weeks is not a random one. Generally 24 is the parameters that the abortionists are using, and 30 goes well beyond that.
Exactly.
So then you eliminate that. What cultures are in particular seem to be requesting these kinds of ultrasounds? South
Asian and Eastern Indian cultures mainly. But I mean that comes from a different sexist type of mentality. I mean, there's no way else to call it that. I mean, if they have 2 daughters already and they find out they have a third, because of the dowries and because of continuing on the family name, they will only try until they have a male.
I'm a long-standing supporter of Campaign Life, even back when I was a kid. But are abortions growing in this country? Are we seeing more of them, or are people becoming aware, young women in particular, becoming aware of their options?
I think that abortions are growing in Canada, unfortunately, because we're one of the only countries in the world with no law regulating abortion whatsoever. It makes it easy and accessible, not to mention funded by our taxpayers, for any woman, no matter what age, no matter what stage of pregnancy, to go to any private clinic or hospital in Canada and get an abortion. So that makes it very easy for abortions to grow. And I think that women aren't being told the options. I think that a lot of issues surrounding abortion are being hidden, such as what happens during the abortion procedure or the development of the fetus. For example, when they suggest that you should only be told the age or the gender of the baby at 24 weeks, to me, or to science, there's no difference between a baby at 24 weeks and a baby at 20 weeks, except the size. But somehow it's fine to have an abortion at 20 weeks or whatever the stage, and it's okay, and it's not okay at 24 weeks. And I don't understand that mentality.
Okay, so does Campaign Life, do they try to raise the awareness on all those kinds of issues?
Absolutely. I mean, that's where we're the largest and oldest pro-life organization, and we do so much awareness educationally, but also politically. And, when Mark Warwa, the MP for Langley, British Columbia, put forward that motion 408 for the government to condemn sex-selective abortion, we promoted that, helped spread it, tried to lobby in favor of that. But again, abortion is such a taboo issue currently in our political sphere that it was shut down. But we are always constantly working with MPs to try and find different ways to help spread the pro-life message, whether it be for the protection of, all.
But is it being provided, for instance, in sex ed classes? I mean, go to the root, go to the young girls in particular, I guess, who would be requesting these kinds of abortions. And it's not exclusive to young women, but you start there and educate up. I
mean, part of our mantra is to go into high schools and to talk about abortion, and sometimes that's very difficult because nobody wants to have something super controversial in their high school. But if you do it in a proper way, then it is a positive element to going into the high school. So I'm not sure if it's part of the curriculum for sexual education. I would doubt it. But we do try as a pro-life organization to go in, and we have some success.
Seems to me in sex ed, though, they get the option of having an abortion being taught to them, for instance, in all the classrooms as part of the curriculum. I don't know that for a fact, but we should probably get it on the other side as well.
That's what I say. I think that's absolutely true, especially in Catholic-funded schools where that's part of their religion. So.
Bingo. Melissa, thanks very much. Good luck in promoting that concept.
Thank you so much.
Melissa Golub joining us, the youth coordinator of the Campaign Life Coalition. Quick break for hard news at the top of the hour. Don't go away.